321で盗まれた私の恋心勝手に盗んだあなたは恋泥棒だあなたを探して3秒聞き慣れた笑い声に振り向いてあなたを見つけて2秒誰にも見えない口元がにやけてあなたと目が合う1秒その瞬間にいられたもう抜け出せないや恋の始まりの合図この胸の高鳴りはもう
Before starting, I'd like to address I know some of you have been reaching out and asking for me to continue the Karma/Akabane series. So I have decided that I will try to pump out an episode of each at least once a week. I know I've been gone for months. I just really haven't had motivation to read or really write anything. And then I was on TikTok and I saw that MHA had pumped out season 6 and season 7. So I was like, okay, let me go back and watch that. And then I simped for Dabi for the first time in my life because of his voice. And I was like, and then I just had this amazing Dabi idea, while I was going to bed that same night. And I just had to get it out on my notes. And then I asked you guys, and you guys voted. So yeah, anyways, so I will continue the Dabi series more. Hopefully I can get some out, but I am going to school at the same time. But anyways, yeah. Thank you for standing by, and just thank you for standing by me through this hard motivation lost time. Okay, anyways, enjoy. For the first few days, the world was like a thick, gray fog. It was as if it had stopped spinning completely. The adults would argue, sure, but they would never argue about you. You were able to ignore the screaming through the walls because you weren't the source of their discomfort. That's why, when he left, to you it was abrupt. You were not but 5. Your mind could not yet comprehend the reasoning. And yet, you were so angry. You were angry and heartbroken. The woman, your mother, grew silent. Family friends would come over to comfort her. And sometimes, one woman, Ray, would bring her children. It was the 3rd visit that one of them found you, in your room. Prior, you could hear them running around the house, making it just a bit more bearable than the quiet that shuffled through the cracks of the walls. Toya had wandered in. He was tall enough to reach the door handle without much stress. You remember the way he first looked at you. It's so vivid in your mind. It was pure happiness, joy only a child could have. He was excited. You remember hearing him say this frantically to his mother afterward, after he'd realized what he'd just walked into. You were 5, and you'd been sitting in the same spot for nearly 3 days. Minimal movement ensured you had no bed sores, but you were severely dehydrated, malnourished, and in critical condition. It was a miracle, the doctors had told Ray, that you'd survived as long as you had. But you knew better. It was his face, the pure awe that someone was happy to see you. You had never experienced it until that moment, and you would never forget it. You couldn't remember how you got to sitting against your bedroom wall on your bed wrapped in sheets and blankets. The furthest back you could remember was the shouting, silence, then footsteps, a door slamming, then shouting again, and then crying. And that was when your world went black and white. All up until Toya entered your world and gave it back its color. You jumped at the sound of a locker slamming shut. "Oh, sorry." Yuna laughed. "My bad, I forgot." She waved her hand around her head. You forced a tight smile. "Don't be. Honestly, it's my fault." No. She shakes her head, her mid-length brown hair swishing back and forth. "It's not." She sighs, a gentle smile creasing her lips. "In our line of work, it's not uncommon." You begin to smile, but when her hands come to rest on top of one of yours, you hastily pull it away. "Right, well, I should be heading home." Yuna nods, following your figure until it disappears behind the locker room door. You rush out of work, passing by pro heroes every way. Some just coming in for the night shift, some just as ready to go home as you are. You work under Hawks, and though he's only 2 years older than you, he's already the number 3 hero, making him both admirable and envious to many, including you. You were the best in your class at UA, and you excelled at everything, but Hawks, he'd been ahead of more pro heroes before he'd graduated. You didn't know much about him, other than what the media put out and hearsay from your teachers. As far as speaking to him, you'd never said a single word. Hell, you don't even think he knows your name, let alone that you work under him. You have some hope, though. You get high-ranked missions, and you've been slowly climbing the ladder of pro heroes in Japan. When you first began working for Hawks 2 years ago, you weren't anywhere near the end, more so toward the top, but still in the middle. The year after that, you were 3/4 near the top 50. This year, you were determined to gain refuge in that list, and perhaps start building your own agency. You'd need to go back to Present Mike and get some advice. Maybe 13 would be able to lend an ear. You throw your head back, cracking your neck as you round the building toward the car lot. You pass a few people on your way, stretching as you do so. They pass you polite smiles, and you return them as best you can. It was around 6 when you got home. Pretty early for a pro hero, but you always go in the office early, and you had a strict time schedule. So when you moved up in positions in the office, you notified your supervisors that your schedule could not change drastically. If need be, it could only be done slowly over time. In a year, they got you to stay until 5:30, but as soon as the clock struck, you were packing up your desk and heading to the locker room to grab your things. It hadn't even been 2 hours that you'd been home before you got a call from none other than your boss, the top one, the one you didn't even think knew you existed. He was frantic, his words flying out of his mouth at the speed he probably flew. However, you got the gist of the situation. You knew he'd normally never call one of his agents directly, but this was a special case all around. You didn't know how he knew, but Hawks knew. The one thing that left you confused was why he was telling you he knew, in a roundabout way, but still, he had to have known giving you this information would lead to your suspicion, especially because this would be the first time you had direct communication with him. Why you? Did he think you were capable enough? Was that it? You were climbing the ranks rather high, especially this year. Perhaps it would give you some well-needed experience? You shook your head, clearing your thoughts. This wasn't about you or him, right now. This was about your baby brother and his friends. Your mouth formed a thin line, only a single word needing to be uttered before you hung up. Understood. The call ended instantly after. You jumped up, throwing your hair into a ponytail and shrugging off your home clothes in favor of your hero attire. Once your boots were strapped, you readied your ponytail with a piece that was supposed to ensure it wouldn't fall out. It was a new type of gadget you had never worn before. You didn't quite trust these new technologies, but now was not a time for skepticism. Dashing out of your apartment, you turned your car on from the stairs and were on the road before the second hour passed. It took you no less than 30 minutes to get there. It was supposed to be a hidden location. Shoto couldn't even tell his family where he was going. It was supposed to be locked down top secret. So what happened? After what happened at USJ, he had said it was decided by the staff to keep their locations on a need-to-know list. Of course, you and Fumi understood completely, but Natsuo had a little bit of a hard time accepting it, especially since they wanted to keep Shoto at the newly constructed dorms. It was both a genius and ingenious idea on the staff's part. On one hand, all those kids will be surrounded and protected by the best of the best. On the other hand, all those kids are in one place at the same consistent time, almost just lying in wait like sitting ducks. But Shoto's strong, and from what you've seen, albeit not much, his classmates are as well. You especially like this Izuku he's constantly bringing up at every family dinner. You remember seeing him in the sports festival, him and this other kid, Bakugo. That kid, he was amazing. A little bit of a temper, you smiled at the thought for a brief moment. He reminded you of, You internally scoff at yourself, batting away your tears as you pull up to a blockade. Once they brief you on the situation, you're able to continue. You're not far. You hear it, shouting, and the forest is near. You park near the entrance and hop out. Not too far in, you find a group of people. It's dark. A few pro heroes give you the rundown on what's happened so far. You look around, noting some familiar faces. They're all Shoto's classmates. You also notice the very obvious, very missing Shoto. You grit your teeth, eyes hardening. Where? An explosion cuts you off. You nod toward the pro heroes, then run toward the noise. The forest is deep and filled with smoke fire. You cough a little before covering your mouth and spinning around. There, just up ahead, is the origin of the smoke. Someone started a forest fire. Could it have been Shoto? You shake your head, although he has been more open to using the fire side of his quirk this year than in the past. Who knows how long it's been. Ere you get to the brunt of the forest fire, no Shoto in sight. You sigh, frustrated, and hold out your hands, prepping for the usage of your quirk. Its best enemy has always been fire, which had been an interest of Enji's, Rei's husband and Shoto's father. You suppress the grim thoughts of Toya. Even just thinking his name makes you want to grab a bucket of ice cream and binge-watch Titanic and The Notebook for hours on end. You shake away the thought of him and focus on taking out the fire. You breathe in, closing your eyes. A moment later, you peek one open, just now noting the oddity of the color. It's blue. Your jaw hangs a little. No. You voice out loud this time. You frown, irked at your mind, getting sidetracked from the mission for the umpth time. So what if it's blue? So what if it's not like any other fire you've ever had to endure? You press your feet to the ground, finding solid rock in front of you, a wall to be exact, a wall made of dirt and minerals, surrounding the forest like a barrier. It's hot, but slowly, you begin to bend the particles in the air, snuffing out all the oxygen until there's nothing but hydrogen left. This part of your quirk is dangerous, significant, and useful, especially when dealing with fires and natural causes, but dangerous nonetheless. Humans cannot survive without oxygen. To the human nose, hydrogen with and without oxygen wouldn't be a massive difference, if a difference at all. They wouldn't know they weren't breathing anything until they passed out. You were immune to this, but your quirk stopped at you. You couldn't project it onto others, therefore making the usage and aftermath of it detrimental if not careful. The fire slowly went out, and then all at once, it stopped. You opened your eyes, pulling yourself back into reality. A group rushed up from behind you, and that's when you noticed them. The villains, standing tall, at the top of the hill that seemed to dive into a cave. You took a step back, trying to get a good look, searching for the fire user, when Shoto came up from behind you. Hwang-in, what are you doing here? You gave him the look only a big sister could give, planting a hand on your hip. I could ask you the same thing. You shouldn't be fighting. Pro Hero Liro? A student with an odd-looking quirk joined the two of you. Where's Eraserhead? You looked between the two boys, finding another kid. Izuku. Oh, he looks horrid. Step back. Shoto grabbed you, and the four of you all jumped back as one of the villains took to the floor once more. The fire user. you recognized instantly, watching blue flames lick out of his hands. You tried taking in his appearance as much as possible as he walked forward and talked. What was that just now? You frowned, taking a step forward and holding out your arms in front of Shoto and his classmates protectively. What was what? Maybe you could distract him long enough for Eraserhead to get here. No matter what, you need to protect these kids. Your heart ached. They're just kids. You. The villain took a step forward. Izuku tried to rush him but was blasted away. No! You screamed, leaping forward to catch the student. The first year. You kept yelling internally. These are children! A laugh came from the vile creature standing in front of you. You handed Izuku over to the student with odd arms. Keep him back. I can't. I need. He coughed, trying to sit up again, eyes full of rage. What happened to him? I know. Liro. Shoto runs toward you, keeping a clean eye on the villain behind you. They have Bakugo. Oh, that would explain it. All right. You turn around, taking another step forward, ready to meet this guy head on. It's okay. We'll get him back, Izuku. The villain, now that you're closer, note the singed purple skin. Was this guy? No, that would be too much of a coincidence. You have the slightest urge to call out Shoto's name to see if he's made the same connection and has gotten to the same conclusion. But it's not possible. No, in fact, it's completely impossible. Toya died. You force your brain to think. He's dead. Has been for years. This guy, he isn't your Toya. You tilt your head, scrunching up your nose at the sight. You stapled yourself. His laughter filters through the space between you and he shrugs his arms up. What? Afraid? He tilts his head and smiles mockingly. Of you? You take another step forward. Please. He cocks a brow, sending a ball of flame at you. It evaporates right as it leaves his palm. He's no match for you. You'll render his fire useless and take him out by close combat. You take another step forward. Dabi, we should really get going. A yell comes from above. Dabi. You let the name simmer on your lips, quirking them up, matching his mock smile from before. Looks like it's past your bedtime. He scoffs, matching the determination in his eyes. Say whatever you want. Where was it? Afraid I've never heard of you. That's okay. You jump forward, taking your first punch. He dodges but doesn't counter with one of his own, nor does he throw a kick or another fireball your way. You lather him with punches, and he takes one to the jaw, but it also nicks your knuckles. You take a step back to once again assess the situation, wondering where the hell Eraserhead could be right now. And while your head is running with the different outcomes that are waiting for an opening, there's your opponent, looking as smug as ever with that taunting smile of his. But why? Why isn't he fighting back? You grind your teeth, jumping in for another attack. He takes all your hits but doesn't attack back. The whole time he only dodges. Maybe he's afraid of not being able to attack and dodge? No, that's not the vibe he gives off. So why Liro? He muses. It stand for something? You narrow your eyes, catching Shoto from the corner, looking ready to jump in if he needs to. Oh, how you love your baby brother. He would do anything to protect his family. And so would you, which is why you can't let him join this fight. Where's Bakugo? The first thing you are taught when handling a villain, even a small one, is to never converse with them. If they show no sign of giving up, then communication is useless. It'll just egg them on more. You need to press the issue. Where is he? I ask first. That's none of your business. You shout back, your emotions getting the better of you. He has no right to question you, least of all about that. Isn't it though? He jumps forward. catching you off guard, spinning around you. One hand is at the base of your neck, and then the heat is spinning from his palm, and then it isn't again. He leaps back as you round your body, your arm turning up and swinging. What's your game? You run toward him, engaging in another small hand-to-hand combat. Don't you know? He raises his brows. Lɪṛdh, it's mocking, but why? Why? It's driving you crazy. No, you spin around him. Enlighten me. In time, his grin falters, and you hear why. That must be Iṛsᴜᴜ and some backup. This guy, Dabi, that's what his teammate called him, what you had repeated earlier. He takes a step so fast, and it's like he was in front of you 1 second and leaning over you the next, like a flash step from some manga you had read a long time ago. In time, little hero. And then he's gone. Gone. Just gone. Vanished. Gone. Vanished. Gone. The words fall over you, pushing you down. Little hero. Hero. Lɪṛdh, are you all right? He called me little hero. You stated, eyeing Shoto, wondering if he'd remember anything about his older brother, his eldest brother. It's all right. Don't take it to heart, Iṛsᴜᴜ says. He was just trying to get you down. Do you know where they went? You shake your head, unable to comprehend anything but the fact that he called me little hero. You say it, this time to Shoto, praying and hoping that he'd understand what you were talking about. Shoto steps forward, pulling you into his arms. He had a growth spurt over the summer, and he's a few inches taller than you now. I know, he assures, but it's not possible. You know, even as your baby brother rubs your back, tears welling up in your eyes. It's not possible, you repeat to yourself. This is some sick, twisted game that guy, Dabi, and the League of Villains have planned. Right now, you need to focus on your next form of action. You need to call Hawks and let him know what happened. You'll have to write up some documents tonight and turn them in tomorrow. You know you should be worried about Shoto's classmate, Bakugo. But even so, only one person in the entire world has ever called you little hero.
Okay, I'm honestly sorry to disappoint you guys, but while making and editing this video, I remembered how long the Asano fic is and why I decided to DNF it. So yeah, I take back what I said at the beginning of the video, I'm so sorry. You know what? I will be willing to write an Asano fanfic or try to find another one or like make one-shots of him and Karma, but I'm so sorry. If you just click, I remember like going back because I wanted to see how it ended. If you just click on the link, it'll take you to AO3, and then you can see how long it is. If you want, you can read it yourself. But when I tell you it was a formative decision to DNF that read, I'm telling you this to save you and myself time. The Karma one, it was just kind of getting not boring for me, but it was like it was going nowhere. I feel like it was going nowhere, and it was like the same thing every other chapter. There was like no plot for me. But if you want, I will solemnly swear, I will write a fanfic for Karma and Asano. Anyways, I can even write them together. I'm kidding. Unless that's something you want. But anyways, let me know. Okay. Thank you for watching to the end. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for bearing with me through my loss of motivation. I love you all, and I always will. Okay, until next time. Bye, everyone.